What's up everybody, Danny's here and we are back at it again with another video. But before we get into it, make sure to check out all the links in the description below. So we have an update about the Nintendo Switch 2 on what the cartridge would look like, something a little different like the Nintendo 3DS cartridge, which would be the same exact. Because we have the Nintendo Switch. Like, I'll show you a cartridge, show you guys what it looks like. Let me just see about Minecraft real quick. Not going to insert the game, just want to show you what a cartridge looks like. So here's what a cartridge looks like. Easily looks a lot like the Nintendo DS cartridge without the notch, but a 3DS cartridge would have a notch right here, but like it's like, oh sorry, it's like wider. Like they would have this notch, like a notch like taken down here from a Game Boy game, like a Game Boy cartridge or even a Game Boy Advance. Like I remember Nintendo used to be doing these cartridges, but they used to do disc plays. They used to play discs, but now they're just doing cartridges, which is quite interesting though. Now, to get into the update of the Nintendo Switch 2 or the next console, the cartridge may be updated on how it is though, because right off the bat, we have a lot of updates about the Nintendo Switch 2, but that's just one update I've made about the Switch 2 on what the cartridge will look like, honestly. I think it may have an updated Nintendo Switch cartridge. Now, let's get into one of the biggest gameplays. Like, I've noticed Nintendo might do something a little interesting. They might do something a little interesting with the Switch 2 cartridge on how they're going to update it properly, like the Nintendo 3DS cartridge. They might have the same exact cartridge with the Nintendo DS cartridge and the Nintendo 3DS cartridge. Now, it's that simple, to be honest with you. The Nintendo Switch is very simple like the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS, but not to expect things, but not to mention, I believe that we will have Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and it comes out next month, and I'm so hyped. So, the Switch 2 updates are being very interested, though, honestly. But, so far, we talked about the cartridges, on how they're going to update it for the Switch 2, but I bet that's what they're going to do. Now, to be honest with you, some of the games might run at 20 FPS, 20 frames per second instead of 60 frames per second. To be honest with you, I get some in the comments that people are saying some games do run at 60 frames per second, but some games don't run at 60 frames per second. They sometimes run at 20 frames per second, though. To be honest with you, I play games that run at 60 frames per second, and sometimes games that run 20 frames per second, like Minecraft, runs at 20 frames per second on the Switch. I play that a lot. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, most likely at 20 frames per second, to be honest with you. When you have like a physical game, something like that, I'm pretty sure Nintendo would actually have some of that FPS. Like, will the Nintendo Switch 2 or the next Nintendo console run at 60 frames per second? The Nintendo Switch OLED does run at 60 frames per second, but the original Nintendo Switch might run at 60 frames per second. Because honestly, I don't know. Like, within these 60 frames per second, I'm not really good at calculating frames per second. Like, I'm not really good, to be honest, but I just want to figure this out, okay? Like, as much as I know. So far, we have been talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. What about the next Xbox console? Like the Xbox Series Z. Like, it needs to be like a handheld, like a Nintendo 3DS. But Xbox usually makes one of these consoles, the tray disc plays. They still don't do the same thing as Nintendo. But did you know also, Nintendo and Xbox teamworked with Rare because some of these games were owned by Rare. To be honest with you, Banjo-Kazooie is on the Nintendo 64 and it's made by Rare. So if Nintendo wants to release Banjo-Kazooie on the N64, they would have to contact Microsoft or Xbox Game Studios, do a bunch of legal paperwork, and get the license to release some of the Rare games on the Nintendo Switch. So out of curiosity though, Nintendo released some of the games that were made by Rare on the NES, the Super Nintendo, the N64. They should release Donkey Kong 64 though, because it's also made by Rare on the N64 on Nintendo Switch Online. So yeah, that was my update on the Nintendo Switch 2. Will it run 60 frames per second, the Nintendo Switch 2, and the updated Nintendo Switch cartridges? It's going to look like the Nintendo 3DS. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. And if you really guys do enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you all next time.